The quietest hours of the night are often the loudest for the heart, because silence has a way of making us hear the things we've been trying to forget. There is something almost haunting about the silence of the night. During the day, the world is loud, full of conversations, work, laughter, noise, and endless distractions. Those sounds act like armor, shielding him from the truth he doesn't want to face. But once the sun sets and the world quiets down, the silence becomes a mirror. It reflects back everything he's tried to avoid, every memory, every emotion, every thought of you. The silence doesn't just sit there. It presses against him, heavy and unrelenting, reminding him of the absence that fills the room. When he lays down in bed, that silence begins to stretch. It feels bigger than the four walls surrounding him. It feels like a vast, empty space that he has no way of crossing. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint tick of the clock, even the sound of cars fading down the street. All of it emphasizes just how alone he is in that moment. In that silence, he becomes hyper, aware that your voice is missing, your laughter isn't bouncing through the air, and your presence isn't nearby. What others might call peace and quiet feels to him like a storm raging inside, a storm of emotions that have nowhere to go. The silence also has a strange way of amplifying the past. Every memory of you feels louder at night, almost as if it's being played on full volume. A smile you once gave him, a late-night conversation, or the simple way you used to breathe beside him. It all rushes back. The weight of silence isn't just about the absence of sound. It's about the presence of memories that refuse to be quiet. They fill the space so completely that he wonders how silence can feel louder than noise. It's in that heaviness that he realizes just how deeply you are missed. What makes the silence heavier is the contrast. During the day, he can drown it out with routine. Calls, work, social media, friends, all of it keeps him moving, keeps him from looking inward. But when the night strips all of that away, there is nowhere left to hide. He has to face what he feels, and that confrontation is brutal. The silence corners him, forcing him to admit to himself what he's been denying to others, that you matter, that he misses you, and that no distraction is strong enough to erase that truth. Sometimes the silence becomes so overwhelming that he tries to fight it. He might turn on the TV, scroll endlessly on his phone, or play music just to break the heaviness. But even in those moments, there's an underlying awareness. None of it works. The noise he creates feels artificial. It doesn't fill the emptiness. It only masks it for a few fleeting minutes. When the distraction fades, the silence returns stronger, heavier, and more demanding than before. And in that return, it reminds him that nothing, not entertainment, not work, not other people, can replace the connection he feels he's lost with you. And yet, there's an odd kind of honesty in that silence. It doesn't lie, it doesn't pretend, it doesn't cover things up. It reveals. The weight of silence strips him bare, leaving him with nothing but his most vulnerable thoughts. It forces him to see what his heart has been carrying all along. That missing you is not just a passing emotion, but a truth that shapes his nights. In that way, the silence is both his enemy and his teacher. It hurts him, but it also shows him how deeply he cared, how real the bond was, and how powerful the absence feels. The weight of silence is heavy, yes, but it's also proof that the connection was real, undeniable, and unforgettable. Memories have a strange way of showing up at night, uninvited yet unstoppable. He doesn't ask for them, he doesn't summon them, and yet when the world falls quiet, they come like shadows slipping under the door. It could be something small, a song playing faintly from a neighbor's window, the scent of coffee left in the kitchen, or even the texture of the sheets he's lying on. And suddenly, there it is, a memory of you. The brain has an infinite library of moments stored away, and at night, when defenses are low, that library opens itself without warning. He finds himself revisiting moments he thought he'd forgotten, details so sharp it feels like reliving them in real time. Sometimes the memories are kind. They show him the warmth of a smile, the way your eyes lit up when you laughed, or the softness of your voice when you said his name. These recollections feel like comfort, like fleeting glimpses of a time when everything made sense. For a moment, he's transported back into that scene, and for a brief second, it feels as though you're there with him again. But the cruel part is that memories, no matter how vivid, are just the images that fade when the lights come on. They vanish just as suddenly as they appeared, leaving the silence heavier than before. Other times, the memories cut deep. They remind him not just of the good, but of the moments that went wrong. The arguments, the misunderstandings, the times he chose pride over vulnerability, all of it plays on a loop, a film he can't seem to pause or stop. The night is merciless in this way. It makes him confront both the beauty of what was and the pain of what broke. And unlike the daytime, where he can run from these thoughts, the night gives him no escape. He has to sit with them, relive them, and wrestle with the emotions they stir. What's most striking about these memories is their detail. The mind has an extraordinary way of preserving tiny fragments. The way your hand fit into his, the exact tone of your laughter, the smell of rain on a day you walked together. These details don't fade. They come back sharp, almost too sharp, like glass pressed against the skin of his thoughts. They remind him that the connection wasn't ordinary, that it left an imprint strong enough to echo long after you were gone. Each memory becomes both a gift and a wound, something he cherishes, yet something that reminds him of the emptiness that follows. And so, every night becomes a quiet visitation. Memories enter like guests who don't ask permission, pulling him into the past whether he's ready or not. He tries to control it, tries to redirect his mind, but it's like trying to stop the tide with bare hands. The harder he resists, the stronger they come. Some nights, it feels as if he is living more in those memories than in his present reality. They blur the line between what was and what is, making the night less about rest and more about reliving. Still, buried in those memories is a kind of truth he cannot ignore, the fact that you mattered enough to leave such a mark. If you had been forgettable, the memories would have faded. If the connection had been shallow, the details wouldn't have remained. The very persistence of those nightly visitations is proof of how real, how deep, and how life-altering your presence was in his life. Memories may torment him at night, but they also reveal what his heart struggles to say, that missing you isn't just a habit, it's a reflection of love that refuses to die. Nighttime has a way of holding up a mirror that the daylight never dares to show. During the day, he can move fast enough to outrun certain thoughts. Work keeps him busy, conversations keep him distracted, and routines keep him numb. But when the sun sets and the silence stretches across the room, regret finds its way in. Regret doesn't shout, it whispers. It sneaks in quietly, replaying moments where he knows he could have done better, times he chose silence when he should have spoken, times he walked away when he should have stayed, times his pride stood taller than his love. And in the stillness of the night, those whispers grow louder until they are all he can hear. He remembers the words left unsaid, the apologies he never gave, the affection he held back, the moments he thought he had more time to express. At the time, it seemed easier to wait. Tomorrow always felt guaranteed. But now, with you gone, he realizes that tomorrow is a fragile promise, not a guarantee. The regret cuts deepest when he thinks about the simplest things, how a few kind words could have softened the rough edges of a fight, how one act of humility could have changed the outcome, how one extra moment of presence could have rewritten the memory. Those missed chances weigh heavier at night, because there are no distractions to soften their impact. Reflection follows regret like a shadow. Once the pain of what could have been hits, he begins to analyze, to search for meaning. He asks himself questions that have no easy answers. Why did I act that way? Why didn't I choose differently? Was I too blind to see what mattered most? Reflection can be brutal, but it's also unavoidable. The night forces him to sit with himself, to see not just who he was in those moments, but who he became because of them. Sometimes he doesn't like the answers. Sometimes the mirror he faces in the dark reveals flaws he tried to bury. But it also shows him the truth. He cared, and because he cared, the mistakes cut deeper. There is a particular kind of loneliness that regret brings. It's not just about missing you, it's about missing the chance to do things differently. He replays scenes in his mind, imagining alternate versions of the past. In one version, he speaks more gently. In another, he chooses patience. In yet another, he puts aside his pride and reaches for your hand. These imagined scenarios don't change reality, but they offer him a glimpse of what could have been. And the cruel thing about regret is that it makes the impossible feel almost within reach. So close he can see it, but too far to touch. Yet within that pain, reflection also plants seeds. Regret without growth is just torture, but regret with reflection becomes a lesson. At night, in those quiet hours, he begins to see patterns, choices he doesn't want to repeat, flaws he wants to heal, words he wants to say more freely if he ever gets another chance. The very fact that he feels regret is proof of growth. A man who doesn't care never regrets, but the one who feels the sting of reflection is the one who loved, the one who valued, the one who knows he has to change. The night, as cruel as it feels, becomes a silent teacher. Still, the lessons don't erase the ache. Regret and reflection may shape him into someone wiser, but they cannot undo the past. And this is the hardest part, living with the knowledge that what he understands now came too late for then. He feels the weight of missed opportunities pressing on him like an anchor, and though reflection offers clarity, it doesn't always bring peace. The night leaves him in this tension, torn between the pain of what he cannot change and the hope that he can at least grow from it. And so he lies awake, reflecting, regretting, learning, knowing that the person he was may have cost him what he misses most. There's a war that happens inside him every night, a war not fought with fists or weapons, but with emotions that pull him in opposite directions. On one side is pride, standing tall, telling him to keep his distance, to stay strong, to never let you see how much he aches. On the other side is vulnerability, whispering softly, urging him to reach out, to admit he misses you, to break down the walls he built. And in the silence of the night, this battle intensifies. Pride and vulnerability become louder than any voice outside, and he becomes the battlefield where they collide. Pride tells him, don't text her, don't call, don't let her know she still has that power over you. It convinces him that showing weakness would mean defeat, that admitting he misses you would strip him of his dignity. Pride wraps itself around him like armor, shielding him from rejection, protecting him from the possibility that you may no longer feel the same. But the armor feels heavy. It keeps him safe, yes, but it also keeps him trapped. Behind the shield of pride, he suffers silently, aching in ways no one else can see. Vulnerability, though, speaks a different language. It tells him, reach out, say how you feel, let her know the truth before it's too late. Vulnerability doesn't care about appearances or saving face. It cares about authenticity. It urges him to risk the possibility of rejection, because it knows that unspoken words can hurt just as much as broken ones. Vulnerability is the part of him that wants to break through the silence, that wants to bridge the distance, that wants to replace what's heavy with what's real. But opening that door requires courage, and courage is often disguised as weakness in a world that worships strength. What makes this battle so exhausting is that neither side is completely wrong. Pride isn't just arrogance, it's protection. It shields him from reaching out too soon, from being hurt again, from reopening wounds that never fully healed. Vulnerability isn't just softness, it's bravery. It pushes him toward honesty, connection, and the possibility of healing. But when both forces pull at him at once, he feels torn apart. He lies awake at night, phone in hand, scrolling through your old messages, fingers hovering over the keyboard, wondering which side to listen to. And more often than not, he does nothing. Not because he doesn't care, but because the battle paralyzes him. The tragedy of this battle is that silence becomes the compromise. Pride wins when he doesn't call. Vulnerability loses when he doesn't speak. And he convinces himself that silence is strength. But silence is its own kind of prison. It keeps him locked inside his mind, where thoughts spiral endlessly and what-ifs multiply. Every night he chooses silence. He feels both the victory of pride and the defeat of vulnerability. And in that paradox, the ache of missing you only deepens. Deep down, though, he knows that vulnerability is not weakness. It's truth. Pride might keep him safe, but it also keeps him distant. Vulnerability might expose him, but it's the only path back to what was real. At night, when the war is loudest, he realizes that love has always belonged to the brave, not the proud. And so he lies there, torn between the man who wants to protect himself and the man who wants to open his heart. That battle doesn't always end with answers, but it always ends with one undeniable truth. Missing you is the reason the war even exists. Without love, there would be no battle at all. Loneliness at night isn't just about being physically alone, it's about the absence of connection. It's not the empty space on the bed that hurts him the most, it's the empty space in his heart. When he misses you, it isn't only your presence that he longs for, it's the bond that ran deeper than words. He craves the connection that once made him feel whole, the kind of closeness that reminded him he wasn't walking through life by himself. In the darkness of night, this longing grows louder, stretching out until it feels as if the entire room is filled with the ache of missing you. The connection he longs for isn't built on grand gestures, but on the small, ordinary things that became extraordinary when shared with you. The late night talks that drifted into dawn, the comfortable silences where no words were needed, the way your hand would find his when the world felt heavy. Those are the moments he misses most. They were the invisible threads that tied him to you, threads so strong that even in your absence, he can still feel them tugging at his heart. That's the truth about connection. It doesn't vanish with distance. It lingers, reminding him of what once was. At night, when his thoughts wander, he realizes that connection isn't just about companionship, it's about being seen. You didn't just sit beside him, you understood him. You noticed the things others overlooked, the details that made him who he was. That kind of recognition is rare, and once it's gone, the absence feels unbearable. He doesn't just miss you, he misses the version of himself he became when he was with you. The man who felt understood, accepted, and valued. Without that connection, the nights feel colder and the silence feels heavier. The longing isn't only emotional, it's physical too. The body remembers what the heart tries to forget. He remembers the warmth of your embrace, the way your presence could calm his restlessness, the way a simple glance could ease his doubts. At night, when he turns over and reaches out instinctively, the empty space beside him serves as a painful reminder of what's missing. No pillow, no blanket, no distraction can fill that gap. It isn't comfort he longs for, it's you. What makes the longing so powerful is that it isn't confined to the past, it stretches into the future. He doesn't just miss what you had, he longs for what could have been. He imagines the milestones you might have shared, the dreams you might have chased together, the nights you might have spent building a life side by side. The longing becomes a bridge, connecting the memories of yesterday with the hopes of tomorrow. And even though reality may not match the dream, the heart continues to yearn, because hope is often stronger than reason. This longing for connection is proof of love's endurance. It shows that what he felt wasn't fleeting, wasn't shallow, wasn't temporary. If it were, the ache wouldn't still be there. The fact that he still longs for you, even in the darkest hours, reveals the depth of the bond you shared. And while the longing may bring him pain, it also gives him something to hold onto, a reminder that what you had was real, that it mattered, and that it left a mark too deep to erase. In the end, the longing becomes both his wound and his comfort, a bittersweet reminder that true connection is never forgotten. Even in the heaviest silence of the night, when regret weighs on him and memories refuse to let go, there is still one thing that keeps him from breaking entirely: hope. It may not roar like pride or ache like longing, but it whispers with a persistence that refuses to die. Hope tells him tomorrow could be different. Tomorrow could bring a chance you didn't see coming. And though he doesn't always believe it, he clings to that thought because it's the only light in the darkness. Without it, the night would feel endless. With it, he finds just enough strength to close his eyes and let himself dream of possibilities. Hope shows up in the smallest of ways. It's in the thought that maybe tomorrow his phone will light up with your name. Maybe there will be a message waiting, a simple "How are you?" that opens the door to something more. Maybe he'll run into you unexpectedly, and the universe will hand him the moment he's been waiting for. It doesn't matter how unlikely these things may seem. Hope doesn't operate on logic. It thrives on possibility. And at night, when everything feels broken, possibility is the thread he holds onto the tightest. There are times when hope feels fragile, like a candle flickering in the wind. Doubt tries to snuff it out, reminding him of the distance, the silence, the finality of what happened. But no matter how strong doubt becomes, hope always seems to reignite. It doesn't disappear completely because the heart refuses to give up on what it loves. That's the paradox of missing someone deeply. You're caught between the reality of what is and the hope of what might still be. And even when logic says it's over, the heart insists on leaving a window open. What makes hope powerful is that it doesn't only belong to the past or even the present. It belongs to the future. He imagines what reconciliation could look like, how a second chance might feel, what it would mean to rebuild what was lost. These aren't just idle thoughts. They're visions that give him strength. Hope paints pictures in his mind, the sound of laughter returning, the warmth of your hand in his again, the possibility of healing where there was once hurt. Those images may be distant, but they remind him that the story doesn't have to be finished yet. At the same time, hope teaches him patience. It tells him that timing matters, that not everything has to happen now. Some nights, this patience is hard to accept. He wants the call, the message, the sign immediately. But hope whispers that maybe tomorrow, or the day after, things could shift in ways he can't yet see. This patience doesn't erase the pain of missing you, but it gives the pain purpose. It transforms waiting from an emptiness into a preparation, reminding him that even silence can lead to something greater if he's willing to endure it. And so, every night, no matter how heavy the regret, no matter how loud the memories, no matter how fierce the battle between pride and vulnerability, hope remains. It may be small, it may be fragile, but it is stubborn. It tells him that tomorrow holds potential, that healing is still possible, that love can still find its way. And even if tomorrow doesn't bring the change he longs for, hope will still whisper the same thing the next night and the night after that. Because hope, unlike anything else, has the power to keep him alive when missing you feels unbearable. And when the night finally grows quiet, when the silence stops pressing and the memories fade into shadows, he's left with one truth. He misses you not because he is weak, but because what you shared was strong enough to outlast the noise of time. The silence taught him the weight of loss. Memories reminded him of love's depth. The regret showed him the lessons he carries. The battle inside revealed his humanity. The longing uncovered the power of connection. And the hope whispered that tomorrow still holds promise. So if you've ever wondered what he feels at night when he misses you, know this. It is not just loneliness, it is love refusing to be forgotten. And if love has that kind of power in the dark, imagine what it could create in the light of a new day.